The Iowa caucuses have come and gone. First, let's deal with the Republican side. Your winner is Ted Cruz, beating expectations and all polls saying that Donald Trump would be the winner. Ted Cruz won with 27.8% of the vote. Donald Trump had 24.3%. Marco Rubio had a pretty strong showing, again, beating expectations with 23.1% of the vote. And Ben Carson showed up at 9.3%. So Ted Cruz got 8 delegates. Donald Trump and Marco Rubio each got 7. And Ben Carson got 3. Rand Paul, Mike Huckabee, and Rick Santorum all dropped out. Thankfully, they had no chance. Now, this caucus didn't come and go without any controversy, though. Trump's decision, first of all, Trump's decision to not show up at that last debate probably hurt him. So that was a bad decision. Everybody knew it. We just didn't know if it was going to hurt him or not. Also, Cruz and Carson, there was some controversy. So CNN had reported that following the Iowa caucuses, Carson wasn't going to go straight to New Hampshire or to South Carolina. He was going to go home to Florida for a breather, but he was going to continue on the campaign trail. Cruz, his allies and his aides put out that information on Twitter, but they forgot to say that Carson was going to be continuing, that he was not dropping out. They just said that he was not going to be continuing on to New Hampshire or to South Carolina. So it made it look like he was dropping out of the race. So there were several people that saw that information during the voting, and they were asking people, at the precincts, is Carson dropping out? Is he out? He's not running anymore? So the thought is that several Carson votes, or several potential Carson votes, ended up going to Cruz. So that's pretty dirty. That's pretty dirty. Since then, Cruz blamed CNN because they put out the information. But again, they included the information that Carson was going to be continuing on in the campaign. His organization didn't put out that additional information. So he tried to play the blame game and blame CNN. Ultimately, he did apologize. Carson said, a little bit too late, which is true. The damage was already done. If that in fact did happen, that Carson's votes ended up in the Cruz, into the Cruz vote, well, I don't know. I don't know how much it really would have reflected. Ted Cruz beat Donald Trump by more than 3 percentage points. Would he have lost? I don't think so. So, all right. So on the Democratic side, Hillary Clinton is your winner, but by the narrowest of margins. So Hillary Clinton ended up with 49.86% of the vote. Bernie Sanders, 49.57% of the vote. That is razor thin. Okay, so Hillary ended up with, I believe, 23 delegates, Bernie with 21. All right. So if you look at the numbers, though, of the voters, voters under 30, Bernie got 84% of that vote. That's crazy. Hillary, 14%. Wow. Again, voters under 30, not liking Hillary Clinton. But voters under 30 only made up 18% of the electorate. So had more of them come out, Bernie would have won. I mean, that's a really large margin, 70 percentage points that Bernie beat her by. Voters 65 years of age or older, Hillary got 69% of that vote. Bernie got 26% of that. So that's a pretty large margin too. And they make up 28% of the electorate. So they showed up in larger numbers than the young people did, which was expected. So, as a result of this caucus, Martin O'Malley dropped out. It was expected. I don't even think he got 1% of the vote. So, sorry, O'Malley, you really didn't have a chance in this race. You really never gained any traction. He's a good dude. I mean, I like his message, but this wasn't the race for him. He'll probably run again in the future. But most pundits believe that Clinton desperately needed to win this state, this first state, because if she didn't, she would have been in a world of hurt. And I kind of believe that too. But being that the race was, or that the final tally was so close, it kind of feels like a loss to me, because she was up by 30 points in Iowa just a few months ago. That Bernie closed that gap and lost by less than 0.3%. Oh man, that's that's not good news for Hillary. And 24 hours after the Iowa caucuses, Bernie's campaign had gotten $3 million in donations just in 24 hours. So wow, he is raising money. Also, in January, Bernie outraised Hillary Clinton by $5 million. Bernie is the candidate without a super PAC. Hillary Clinton has super PACs, and he outraised her. So again, Hillary, why do you need super PACs? Huh? You're not corrupted. Okay, so you're not corrupted. So why do you need super PACs? You couldn't do this the old-fashioned way? You couldn't do that? Whatever. Now there was several, incidents, controversy. There were some coin flips that were reported to go in Clinton's favor by, I think, like 6-1. Then it was said that no, it went Bernie's way 6-1. Whatever. I don't know. All I do know is that deciding outcomes by coin flips is stupid. There was also, and I don't know that I saw this on any mainstream media outlets, of course, but I did hear about this before the the caucus started, and I heard it afterwards too. So there were some reports that from people that were there saying that for this one, there was this one scenario where there were, I think, 46 Bernie supporters at the caucus. There were 29 Hillary supporters, and there were 3 O'Malley supporters. Okay, so O'Malley's group wasn't viable, so they would have to, reallocate themselves, go to Hillary or go to Bernie. So instead of doing that, Hillary supporters, they convinced 12 of them to join the O'Malley group. So now O'Malley's group is viable. He gets a delegate. So that prevented Bernie from getting an extra delegate. So that's pretty dirty. If that actually happened, which, like I said, I did hear several reports that incidents like that did happen, and it doesn't seem like that was against the rules or anything. So if that really happened, that's pretty dirty. But even with that, like I said, Bernie lost by a very, very slim margin. So after the Iowa caucuses, the next state is New Hampshire. So what is it looking like for both sides, Democratic and New Hampshire? Democratic and a Republican side. On the Republican side, fresh off of, Cruz's win, he's making no traction. He's not making up any ground. Donald Trump still has a pretty wide lead, at least in the polls, in New Hampshire. So no movement whatsoever for Ted Cruz. Actually, I believe Marco Rubio is in second place in the polls. So again, that doesn't seem to be favoring Ted Cruz in New Hampshire. But on the Democratic side, after the Iowa caucuses, Bernie Sanders increased his lead in New Hampshire. Now he's up by about 31 points on Hillary Clinton. Wow. So also, there's a new Quinnipiac poll that came out today. That's a national poll. Now remember, I don't know if you remember, but Clinton had been leading the national poll this whole time and been leading big, 20 points, 30 points, 40 points. The last one I believe was about 20 points. So the new poll, they're virtually tied. That's bad news for Hillary Clinton. She's getting outraised by Bernie Sanders. She's losing by 30 points in New Hampshire. And the national poll is now showing that they're virtually tied. This is probably the worst case scenario for Hillary Clinton. The last thing she wanted was for the nation to be feeling the burn.